Welcome to the Ensemble Theatre of Chattanooga. Our 2012 season focuses on thoughtfully exploring social norms. At this time, we invite you to please silence all electronic devices. In the unlikely event of an emergency, the fire exits are located through the entrance and under the light booth. We value your feedback. Please visit our website for a brief survey and share your experience with us. And without further ado, please sit back and enjoy the show.
Helen. The children mustn't see it before it's been decorated. How much?
6 pence.
And there is a pound. No, keep the change. Yes, he is home.
Is that my skylark twittering out there?
Yes.
Is that my squirrel bustling around?
Yes, it is.
When did my squirrel come home?
Just now. Oh, come here, Torvald. Let me show you what I thought.
No, I cannot be disturbed. Bought, did you say? All these things? Has my little squander bird been overspending again?
Torvald, surely we can let ourselves go a little this year.
Well, come, we can't afford to be extravagant.
Yes, Torvald, we can be a wee bit extravagant. Can't we just a tiny bit? We're going to have a big salary and make lots of money.
After the new year, yes. But it will be a whole quarter till my salary is due.
Who we can borrow till then?
Nora. Still my little featherhead. Now, suppose that I borrowed £50 today and you spent it over Christmas, and then on New Year's Eve a tile blew off the roof and onto my head.
Torvald, don't say such horrible things.
But suppose it did happen. What then?
If anything so dreadful did happen, it wouldn't matter very much whether I was in debt or not.
Yes, but what about the people I borrowed from?
Them? Who cares about them? They're strangers.
Nora. Oh, that is such like a woman. Now, be serious. You know how I feel about this. No debt, no borrowing. A home that is founded on debts can have no freedom or beauty. Now, we have kept bravely up to now, and we will continue to do so for the short time we still must.
Very well, Torvald, as you please.
Come, my little skylark must not droop her wings. What is this? Is my little squirrel sulking? Nora, what do you suppose I have here?
Money?
Oh, there you are. I know how expenses crop up at Christmas.
10, 20, 30, 40. Oh, thank you, Torvald. This will go a long way.
Yes, indeed it must.
Yes, it will. Now come and look and see what I bought. And so cheaply, look. Here's a new suit for Evie, and a sword, and a horse, and a trumpet for Bob, and a doll and a cradle for Emmy. And they're nothing much, but she'll rip them apart in a few days. And here's dress materials and handkerchiefs for the maids. And old Anne ought to have something better, really.
And what is in that parcel?
Well, you're not to see that until this evening.
Very well. But now tell me, you little spendthrift, what have you thought of for yourself?
For myself? Pooh, I don't want anything.
Yes, you do. Just tell me something you would most like to have. Something sensible?
No, Torvald, I really can't think of anything. Unless
Well,
you really want to give me something, you might. Well, you might.
out with it.
You might give me money, Torvald. Only as much as you can afford, and then I can buy something with it later on.
What do they call little playbirds that can never keep money?
Yes, spendthrifts, I know, but let's do as I say, Torvald, and then I will have time to think about what I need most. That's very sensible, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And it would be if you really kept the money and spent it on something for yourself. But you'll spend it on housekeeping and all sorts of things, and then I will have to pay up again.
But Torvald.
Well, you can't deny it, my dear little Nora. It's a sweet little lark, but it gets through an awful lot of money. No one would believe how expensive such little birds are.
For shame! How can you say that? I save every penny I can.
That's true. Every penny you can. But you can't.
If only you knew how many expenses we large squirrels have, Torvald.
You're a strange creature. Oh, just like your father. Always on the lookout for some way to get money, but as soon as you've got it, it seems to slip through your fingers and you don't know where it's gone. Well, I must take you as you are. It's in the blood, Nora. These things are hereditary.
I wish I had inherited many of Papa's qualities.
And I wouldn't wish you to be anything but just what you are. But do you know, Nora, it strikes me that you look rather... Well, how should I put this? Rather devious today.
Do I?
Yes, you do. Look me in the eyes.
Well?
Has my little sweet tooth been indulging herself in town today?
No, how could you think such a thing?
Not a little digression into a pastry shop?
No, certainly not.
Not a wee jam talk?
No, Torvald, I swear.
Not a little nibble at a macaroni?
No, I promise you.
Well, there, I was only joking.
You know I could never go against your wishes.
Well, of course not. You've given me your word. Very well, Nora. Keep your Christmas secrets to yourself. They'll be revealed this evening once the Christmas tree is lit, no doubt.
Did you remember to invite Dr. Rank?
No, but there is no need. He'll come as a matter of course. But I will ask him when he looks in this morning. Oh, I've ordered some exceptional wine, Nora. You can't imagine how much I'm looking forward to this evening.
So am I. And to how the children will enjoy themselves, Torvald.
It's wonderful to know that one has an assured position and an ample income. I mean, it's delightful to think of, isn't it?
It's wonderful.
Do you remember last Christmas? For a full 3 weeks beforehand, you locked yourself up in your room until long past midnight, working on flowers for the Christmas tree and all sorts of marvels to surprise us with. I was never so bored in my life.
I wasn't bored at all.
But it came to nothing in the end.
Oh, don't tease me about that again. How could I help the cat getting in and tearing everything to pieces?
Well, of course not, poor little Nora, but you wanted to make us all happy, and that's the important thing. But all the same, it's a good thing that our hard times are over.
Yes, it's wonderful.
Now I don't have to sit and bore myself, and you don't have to tire your pretty eyes or your delicate little fingers.
Oh, that's true, Torvald, isn't it? Oh, I'm so glad to hear you say so. Now I'll tell you how I think we ought to arrange things, Torvald, after Christmas is over.
I'm not at home to visitors, remember?
There's a lady to see you, ma'am. Stranger.
Ask her to come in.
The doctor's come as well, sir.
Has he gone to my study?
Yes, sir. How do you do, Nora?
How do you do?
I don't suppose you recognize me.
No, I don't. Oh, yes. Christine, is it really you?
Yes, it's me.
Christine! And to think I didn't recognize you. How could I? You've changed so much, Christine.
It's been 9 years now, nearly
Has
10.
it been that long since we met? Yes, it must be. The last 8 have been a happy time for me, I can tell you, and now you've come to town. All that journey in the middle of winter, how brave of you.
I arrived by steamer this morning.
Well, to have some fun at Christmas, of course, we'll have to celebrate. Oh, but first take off your coat. Oh, poor thing, you're freezing. Sit down by the stove and be comfortable. No, you take the armchair. I'll take the rocking chair. There, now you look like your old self again. It was only at first, but well, you do look a little paler, Christine, perhaps a little thinner.
And older, Nora, much, much older.
Just a tiny bit older, perhaps, not much. Oh, what a thoughtless creature I am to sit here chattering away. So Sweet Christine, can you forgive me?
What do you mean, Nora?
Well, Christine, you've become a widow.
Yes, 3 years ago now.
Yes, I know, I saw it in the papers. Believe me, Christine, I did mean to write, but I kept putting it off and something else always cropped up.
I understand that, Nora.
No, Christine, it was terrible of me. Poor thing, what you must have gone through. And he left you nothing.
Nothing.
And no children?
No.
Nothing at all, then?
Not even an ounce of grief.
Christine, how's that possible?
It happens sometimes, Nora.
So you're alone, then? How dreadful that must be. I have 3 lovely children. I can't show them to you now. They're out with the nanny. But now you must tell me everything.
No, I want to hear about you.
No, I won't be selfish today. Today I'll think just about you. Oh, but there's something I must tell you. Have you heard of our wonderful luck?
No? What luck?
Would you believe? My husband has been made manager of the bank.
Your husband? Oh, that is lucky.
Isn't it? A lawyer's position is always so uncertain, especially if one won't touch any case that's the least bit unsavory, as Torvald never would. I quite agree with him. You can imagine how happy we are. He'll join the bank after the new year, and then he'll have a big salary with lots of commissions. And in the future, we can live quite differently. We can do exactly as we please. It's such a relief. I feel so happy. It's wonderful to have heaps of money and not worry, isn't it?
Yes, it must be delightful to have what one needs.
No, not just what one needs, but heaps and heaps of money.
Nora, haven't you learned since yet? In our school days, you were a terrible spendthrift.
Yes, that's what Torvald says I still am, but Nora isn't as silly as you think. We've been in no position to waste money. We've both had to work.
You too?
Yes. The little things, crochet work, embroidery, that kind of thing. And other things too. You know, when we were first married, Torvald left his office. There's no prospect for promotion there, and he had to earn more than before. But in the first year, he overworked himself dreadfully. He took on all sorts of extra jobs, slaved from morning till night. It was too much for him. He felt dangerously ill. And the doctor said he'd have to go south to a warm climate.
You spent a whole year in Italy, didn't you?
Yes. And it wasn't easy to get away, I can tell you. It was just after little Evie was born. Of course, we had to do it. It was a wonderful journey, and it saved Torvald's life, but it cost an awful lot of money, Christy.
So I should think.
250 pounds. A lot of money.
How lucky you had it.
Actually, we got it from my father.
I see. He died just about that time, didn't he?
Yes, just then. It was dreadful. I couldn't go care for Papa. I was expecting little Evie any day, and I had poor Torvald to care for. Dear kind little Papa. I never saw him again, Christine. That was the saddest time I've known since my marriage.
I know how fond you were of him. But then you went to Italy.
Yes. Well, the doctor said we couldn't delay, so we went a month later.
And your husband came back in good health?
Sound as a bell.
But the doctor...
What doctor?
I thought the gentleman who arrived with me was the doctor.
Oh, yes, Dr. Rank, but he doesn't come here professionally. He's our dearest friend and never lets a day pass without looking in. No, Torvald's health hasn't had a moment's illness since we went away. And the children are happy and healthy, and so am I. Oh, Christine, it's wonderful to be alive and happy. Oh, the thoughtless creature I am, sitting here chattering about myself. Please don't be angry with me. Tell me, is it true you didn't love your husband? Why did you marry him?
My mother was alive then and was bedridden and helpless, and I had to provide for my 2 younger brothers. I didn't think it'd be right to refuse him.
No, I suppose you're right. So he was rich?
Very well off, I believe, but his business was uncertain. When he died, it all went to pieces. There was nothing left.
And then?
And then I turned my hand to anything I could find. First a small shop, then a small school, and so on. These past 3 years have been a constant struggle, but now it's over, Nora. My poor mother doesn't need me anymore. She's at rest. And the boys don't need me either. They've found positions and can provide for themselves.
Well, then what a relief you must feel.
No, Nora. I feel unspeakably empty. No one to live for anymore. That's why I couldn't bear to stay in my little backwater any longer. I thought here it might be easier to find something to busy me and occupy my thoughts. If only I could find office work of some kind.
But that is so frightfully tiring, and you look worn out already. You really should go somewhere and rest.
I have no father to pay for my holidays, Nora.
Please don't be angry with me.
No, don't be angry with me. The worst part about a position like mine is that it makes one so bitter. There's no one to work for, yet one is obliged to always be on the lookout for jobs. One must live, and so one becomes selfish. When I heard about your happy change in fortune, can you believe it? I wasn't happy so much for your sake, but for my own.
How do you mean? Well, I understand. You think Torvald might be able to do something for you.
Yes, I was thinking that.
He will, Christy. Just leave it to me. I will lead up to it beautifully. I will get him in the right mood. Christine, I would love to help you.
It's so kind of you to help me, Nora. Doubly kind to you since you know so little of the burdens and troubles of life.
I know so little of them.
Oh, small household cares, needlework, that sort of thing. Nora, you're a child.
You shouldn't be so patronizing.
No?
Just like the others, you don't think I'm incapable of anything really serious.
Somehow.
You think I've never had troubles like the rest of you.
But Nora, you just told me all your troubles.
Oh, pooh. Those are trifles. I've not told you the important thing.
The important thing? What do you mean?
You look down on me, Christine, but you shouldn't. You're proud that you worked so long and so hard for your mother.
I don't look down on anyone. But it is true that I'm both proud and glad I was able to keep my mother's last days free from care.
And you're proud to think of what you've done for your brothers, too.
I think I have the right to be.
Well, I think so, too. I'll tell you, Christine, I do have something to be proud and glad of.
I don't doubt it. But what do you mean?
Speak low. Torvald mustn't know, not at any price. No one must know, Christine. No one but you.
What is it?
Come here. Yes, Christine, I too have something to be proud and glad of. I saved Torvald's life.
Saved his life? How?
I told you of our trip to Italy. Torvald never would have lived if we had not gone there.
Yes, but your father gave you the money.
Yes, that's what Torvald and the others think, but
But
Papa didn't give us a penny. I found the money.
you? All of it?
250 pounds. What do you say to that?
But how could you manage it, Nora? Did you win a lottery?
The lottery? Where's the skill in that?
Well, where did you get it from then?
Cha-la-la.
Why, you couldn't have borrowed the money.
No? Why not?
Why, a wife can't borrow money without her husband's consent.
It is a wife who has any head for business. A wife who knows how to be clever.
I don't understand, Nora.
You don't have to understand. I never said I borrowed it. I could have got it some other way. I could have got it from some admirer, when one is as attractive
You
as I
are
am.
a mad creature.
No, you're dying of curiosity, Christy.
Nora, dear, haven't you been a little bit foolish?
Was it foolish to save your husband's life?
I think it's foolish if it's without his knowledge.
But the whole point was that he mustn't know. Can't you understand that? He wasn't even to suspect how dangerously ill he was. I was the only one they told that his life was in danger and that going to a warm climate would save him. Do you think I didn't try diplomacy first? I told him that I longed to travel abroad like other young wives. I cried and I prayed. I told him he ought to think of me in my condition and be kind and indulgent to me. Then I hinted he might borrow the money. And then he almost got angry with me, Christine. He said I was frivolous and that it was his duty as a husband not to yield to my whims and caprices, as he called them. Very well, I thought. But you must be saved somehow. And then I thought of a way to do it.
And your husband never learned from your father that the money hadn't come from him?
No, Papa died just then. I had meant to let him in on the secret and beg him never to tell, but he was so ill. It never became necessary.
Have you never told your husband?
Oh, good gracious, no, what are you thinking? A man who has such strong opinions of these things. Besides, it would be painful for Torvald, with his manly independence, to know that he ever owed me anything. It would upset the relation between us. Our beautiful, happy home would never be what it is now.
Will you never tell him?
Yes. Oh, sometime. Perhaps. After many years, when I'm no longer pretty. Don't laugh at me. I mean, when Torvald is not so in love with me as he is now. When it doesn't amuse him to see me dance and dress up and play the fool, and then it may be useful to have something in reserve. Nonsense. That day will never come. Now, what do you think of my great secret, Christine? Do you still think I'm completely useless? I will tell you that this whole affair has caused me a lot of worry. It's not been easy to meet my obligations punctually. There are certain things in business, I can tell you, that are called quarterly installments and interest. They're terribly hard to manage. I've had to pinch a little here and scrape a little there wherever I could. I couldn't save much out of the housekeeping money because Torvald likes to live well. I couldn't let the children go about badly dressed. All he gave me for them, I spent on them, the darlings.
Poor Nora. So you had to stint yourself?
Well, of course. After all, it was my problem. Whenever Torvald would give me money for clothes and such things, I never spent more than half of it. I always bought the simplest and cheapest things. Thank heaven, everything suits me so well. Torvald's never noticed. It has often been very hard, Christine, because it's nice to be beautifully dressed, isn't it?
Indeed it is.
Well, no, I found other ways of earning money. Last winter, I was lucky enough to get a lot of copying to do, so I shut myself up and sat writing late every evening. Sometimes I was so tired. But other times, it was tremendous pleasure to sit and earn money. It was almost like being a man.
How much have you been able to pay off like this?
I can't say exactly. It's difficult to keep an exact check on business of that kind. I only know I've been able to pay everything I could scrape together. Sometimes I really didn't know where to turn. And I used to imagine that a rich gentleman had fallen in love with me.
What? What gentleman?
Nobody. That he died, and that when his will was open, it said in big letters, everything I possess is to be paid forthwith to my beloved Mrs. Nora in cash.
But, Nora, what gentleman do you mean?
Good heavens, can't you understand? There isn't any old gentleman. It's only what I used to dream when I was at my wit's end for the money. It doesn't matter now. The tiresome old bore can stay where he is. I don't need him or his will. My troubles are over. Isn't it wonderful, Christine? I'm free from care. I can play and I can play with the children. I can fill the house with beautiful, tasteful things as Torvald loves it. And spring will come with a big blue sky. Perhaps we'll take a little trip. Perhaps I'll see the sea again. Oh, it's wonderful to be alive and happy.
You have a visitor. Perhaps I better go.
Oh, stay. No one will come here. It's sure to be someone for Torvald.
There's a gentleman to see the master, but as the doctor is in with him.
Who is it?
It's me, Mrs. Helmer.
You. What do you want to see my husband about?
A bank business, in a way. I hold a small post in the bank. Your husband is to be our chief, I hear, and pure business, nothing more.
And you will please to go into the study.
Nora, who was that man?
A lawyer named Krogstad.
Then it really was him.
Do you know that man?
I used to. Many years ago. He was a solicitor's clerk in our town for a while.
So he was.
How he has changed.
He was very unhappily married, I believe.
And he's a widower now?
Yes, with lots of children. There, now that's burning up.
They say that he carries on various kinds of business now.
Does he? I really don't know. Let's not talk about business. It is so tiring.
No, my dear fellow. I am in your way. I'll go have a word with your wife. Well, I beg your pardon. Seems I'm in the way here, too.
Not in the least. Dr. Ray, Mrs. Linde.
Ah, a name I've often heard in this house. I think I passed you on the stairs as I came up.
Stairs try me. Go very slowly.
Some slight internal weakness.
Only overworked.
Is that? Then I suppose you've come into town to find rest in a round of dissipations.
I've come to look for work.
Is that an approved remedy for overwork?
One must live, Dr. Rank.
Yes, the general opinion seems to be that it's necessary.
Oh, come, Dr. Rank. You want to live yourself.
Well, now, to be sure I do, however wretched I may feel. I wish to prolong the agony as long as possible. Same with all my patients, even the ones who are morally diseased as well. One of them is at this very moment with Helmer.
Who do you mean?
Some lawyer fellow called Krogstad. He's a man you know nothing about. Corrupt to the very core of his character, but even he began by announcing as a matter of enormous importance that he had to live.
What did he want to speak to Torvald about?
I haven't any idea. I only gathered it was some big business.
I didn't know that this man Krogstad had anything to do with the bank.
Yes, he holds some appointment there. I don't know if in your part of the world you have people go zealously sniffing around for moral corruption, and when they found the case, they give them some nice, comfortable position where they can keep a good eye on it. Healthy natures are left out in the cold.
Well, perhaps it's the sick who require the most care.
It is that sentiment that is turning society into a hospital. Why are you laughing? Why do you find that amusing?
Oh, I'm laughing at something else, something extremely amusing. Tell me, Dr. Rankus, are all the employees of the bank dependent upon Torvald now?
Is that what you find extremely amusing?
Oh, never mind. Never you mind. Yes, I do find it amusing that Torvald has such power over so many people. Dr. Rank, would you like a macaroon?
What? Macaroons? I thought they were forbidden here.
Yes, but these are some Christine gave me. Why, don't be alarmed. You couldn't have known that Torvald had forbidden them. He's afraid they'll ruin my teeth. But bah, just for once, don't you agree? Well, Dr. Rank, that's for you. And you too, Christy. I'll have one while we're at it, just a little one. Or maybe two. Now I'm extremely happy. There's just one thing I should dearly love to do.
Well, what is it?
Something I should dearly love to say if Torvald could hear me.
Well, why don't you say it?
No, I daren't. It's so shocking.
Shocking.
Perhaps you shouldn't, but to us, you might. What is it you would so much like to say if Torvald could hear you?
I should just love to say, damn it to hell.
Have you gone mad?
Good gracious, Nora.
Well, say it, here he is.
Torvald, have you got rid of him?
Yes, he's just gone.
Let me introduce you. This is Christine, who has come to town.
Christine, pardon me, but I don't know.
Mrs. Linde. Torvald, dear. Christine Linde.
Oh, a school friend of my wife's, I presume.
Yes, we knew each other as girls.
Just think, she's traveled all this way to speak to you.
Oh?
I didn't really
Christine is tremendously clever at office work, and she's frightfully anxious to find work under some clever man who could teach her even more.
Very sensible, madam.
And when she heard you were made manager of the bank, the news was telegraphed, you know. She started here as quickly as she could. Torvald, you will do something for Christine, for my sake, won't you?
Well, it is not impossible. I presume you have some experience of office work?
Yes, quite a bit.
And I presume you're also a widow.
Yes.
Well, then it's very likely I may be able to find a place for you.
See, what did I tell you?
You've just come at a fortunate moment, Mrs. Linde.
How can I thank you?
Oh, there's no need, but now I'm afraid you must excuse me.
No, wait a moment. I will come with you.
Don't be long, Torvald, dear.
Only an hour, not more.
Are you going to, Christine?
Yes, I will start to look for a room.
Oh, well, then perhaps we can walk part of the way together.
Such a pity we're so cramped here. I'm afraid it's impossible.
I wouldn't dream of it. Goodbye, Nora, dear, and many thanks.
Goodbye for the present. Of course, you will come back this evening. And you too, Dr. Rank. What do you say? If you feel well enough? Of course, you'll feel well enough. Just wrap yourself warmly. Oh, there they are! There they are! Oh, come in! Come here, Christine. Come look at them.
Stop standing there.
Hold on, Mrs. Linde. Only one of us can stand such a
Are you
temperature.
hungry? Let me take her in. Oh, my sweet baby doll. Oh, you're freezing, Anne. Go in. There's some hot coffee for you on the stove. Oh, really? Did a big dog chase you? But it didn't bite you. No, big dogs don't bite. Oh, don't you? Come, let's have a game. Let's have a play. Hide and seek. All right, I'll hide first. Oh, me? Very well, I will do first.
Excuse me, Mrs.
What do you want?
Excuse me, the outer door was ajar. Someone must have forgotten to shut
My
it.
husband is not at home, Mr. Krogstad.
I know.
What do you want here, then?
A word with you.
Me? No, go into the nurse. No, the strange man won't do Mother any harm. When he's gone, we'll have another game. You want to speak to me?
Yes, I do.
Today, it is not the first of the month yet.
No, it's Christmas Eve. Whether you have a Merry Christmas depends on you.
Well, what do you want? I can't give you anything
I
today.
won't speak about that for the present. I've come about another matter. You can give me a moment?
Yes, I suppose.
Good. I was sitting in the cafe below and saw your husband go down the street
Yes.
with a lady.
Well,
May I be so bold as to ask if the lady was a Mrs. Linde?
yes.
Just come to town.
Yes, today.
She's a great friend of yours, isn't she?
Yes, she is, although I
I
don't.
used to know her too once.
I know.
Oh. Oh, so you know all about it. I thought as much. Well then, I can ask you a straight question. Is Mrs. Linde to be employed at the bank?
Oh, how dare you question me, Mr. Krogstad? You one of my husband's subordinates. Since you ask, you will know. Yes, Mrs. Linde is to be employed at the bank. And I arranged it, Mr. Krogstad. So now you know.
My guess was right then.
You see, one has a tiny bit of influence after all. Because one is a woman doesn't necessarily mean. When one is in a subordinate position, Mr. Krogstad, one really ought to be careful to avoid offending anyone who
Who has influence?
Exactly.
Mrs. Helmer, would you have the kindness to use your influence on my behalf?
What? How do you mean?
Would you be so good as to see that I keep my subordinate position in the bank?
Who wants to take it from him?
You don't have to play ignorant. I can very well understand that it cannot be pleasant for your friend to risk rubbing shoulders with me. I understand now, too, whom I have to thank for being hounded out.
But I assure you.
That may be, but there is time yet, and I'd advise you to use your influence to prevent it.
Mr. Krogstad, I have no influence.
Well, haven't you? I thought you said yourself
I
just
didn't
now.
mean it like that. How could you imagine I have any such influence over my husband?
No, your husband from our student days, I don't think he's any more inflexible than other husbands.
Mr. Krogstad, if you speak disrespectfully of my husband, I will have to ask you to leave.
You are bold, Mrs. Helmer.
I'm not afraid of you any longer.
Listen.
Once the new year is in, I will soon be out of the whole business.
Listen to me, Mrs. Helmer. If necessary, I will fight as though for my life to keep my little place in the bank.
So it seems.
It is not only for the money. Indeed, that's the last thing I care about. There is something else. Well, I may as well tell you. My position is this. Of course, you know, like everyone else does, that some years ago I was guilty of an indiscretion.
I think I heard something of the sort.
The matter never came into court, but from that day all paths were barred to me. I turned my hand to the business that you know about. I had to do something. I don't think I've been one of the worst. But now I must cut myself free from all that. My sons are growing up. For their sake, I must try to recover what respect I can. This post at the bank was my first step on the ladder, and now your husband would kick me off the ladder back into the mud.
Believe me, Mr. Krogstad, I don't have any power to help you.
Then it is because you don't have the will. But I have the means to compel you.
You don't mean you'll tell my husband that I owe you money?
Suppose I were to tell him.
It would be shameful of you. The secret has been my joy and pride that he should hear about it in such an ugly, clumsy way. And from you, it would involve me in all sorts of unpleasantness.
Only unpleasantness.
I'll do it then. It will only be the worse for you. My husband will see for himself what kind of man you are, and you certainly won't keep your post then.
I asked you if it was only domestic unpleasantness that you were afraid
If
of.
he gets to know of it, he will of course pay you what is owed at once, and then we will have nothing more to do with you.
Mrs. Helmer, either you have a very bad memory or else you know very little of business. I had better remind you of a few details.
What do you mean?
When your husband was ill, you came to me to borrow 250
I
pounds.
didn't know anyone else.
I promised to find that amount for you.
And you did
I
find it.
promised to find that amount for you on certain conditions. You were so taken up with your husband's illness and so eager to get the money for your journey that you seem not to have given much thought to the details. Allow me to refresh your memory. I promised to get that money in exchange for a note in hand, which I drew up.
Yes, in which I signed.
Exactly, and then I added a few lines naming your father's security for the debt. Your father was to sign them.
Was to? He did sign them.
That is to say, your father was to date his signature. And then I gave you the note to post to your father. Isn't that right?
Yes.
And of course, you did so at once. Then 5 or 6 days afterwards, you brought it back to me with your father's signature, and I handed you the money.
Haven't I made my payments as agreed?
Well, more or less, but... To return to the point, that was a difficult time for you, wasn't it, Mrs. Helmer?
It was indeed.
Your father was very ill, wasn't he?
Papa was on his deathbed.
And died soon afterwards.
Yes.
Mrs. Helmer, do you remember the day of your father's death? The day of the month, I mean.
Papa died on the 29th of September.
Quite correct. I have confirmed it. And that leaves me with one curious little problem which I cannot explain.
What problem? I don't
The
understand.
problem, Mrs. Helmer, is that your father signed this paper 3 days after his death.
What?
Look here. Your father died on the 29th of September, but he has dated his signature the 2nd of October. It is curious, isn't it? Can you explain it? It is a remarkable thing, too, that the words 2nd of October and the year are written not in your father's handwriting, but in one that I believe I know. Well, this can be explained. Your father may have forgotten to date his signature, and someone else may have added the date before the fact of your father's death was known. There's nothing criminal about that. It all depends on the signature, and that is genuine, I suppose, Mrs. Helmer. It was your father himself who signed his name here?
No, it was not. I signed Papa's name there.
Are you aware, madam, that is a very dangerous admission?
How so you'll get your money?
Let me ask you a question. Why didn't you send the paper to your father?
It was impossible. Papa was very ill. If I had told him that I needed his signature, I would have had to tell him what the money was for, and when he was so ill himself, it was impossible.
It would have been more prudent to have given up your trip abroad.
No, it was to save my husband's life. I couldn't do that. I couldn't give it up.
But yet, you felt it necessary to be dishonest with me.
I couldn't bother with that. I didn't care about you. I couldn't stand you for all the heartless difficulties you put in my way, even though you knew how dangerously ill my husband was.
Mrs. Helmer, you evidently do not appreciate exactly what you have been guilty of, but I assure you, it was nothing more and nothing worse that made me an outcast.
You expect me to believe you took a brave risk to save your wife's life?
The law is not concerned with motives.
Then it must be a very foolish law.
Foolish or not, if I produce this paper in court, it is the law by which you will be judged.
I don't believe that. Doesn't a daughter have the right to spare her dying father anxiety and care? Doesn't a wife have the right to save her husband's life? I don't know much about the law, but I am certain there is something somewhere that says such things are allowed. Well, you ought to know that. You're a lawyer, aren't you? You must be a very poor one, Mr. Krogstad.
Poor or not, about this matter, I think you will find that I am some sort of expert. Very well, do as you please. But I tell you this, if I am thrown into the gutter a second time, you shall keep me company.
Nonsense. He's just trying to frighten me. I'm not as simple as that. And yet... No, it's impossible. I did it for love.
The visitor has exited the gate, ma'am. The children were wondering if you come and play again?
No, not now.
They say you promised them, ma'am.
Yes, but I can't now. I have such a lot to do.
Very well, ma'am.
Helen, bring the ornament. They are on the table.
Shall I bring anything else?
No, thank you. I have all I want. There. The flowers there. Horrible man. There's nothing to be afraid of. The tree must be beautiful. I will do everything to please you, Torvald. I will sing for you and dance for you. Back already?
Yes. Has anyone been here?
Here? No.
That's strange. I saw Krogstad go out the gate.
Did you? Oh yes, Krogstad was here for a moment.
Nora, I can tell from your manner that he has been here begging you to put in a good word for him.
Yes, Torvald, but...
And you were to appear to it of your own accord. And you were to say nothing to me of his having been here. Didn't he beg that too?
Yes, Torvald, but...
Nora. And you were ready to enter into such a conspiracy. To talk to a man like that and to make him promises and to tell me a lie into the bargain.
A lie?
Well, didn't you say that no one had been here? My little skylark must never do that again. A songbird must sing clear and true, no false notes. Isn't that so? Yes, I'm sure it is. Now, we'll say no more about it. Cozy and quiet it is here.
Torvald,
Yes.
I'm terribly looking forward to the Stenworks fancy dress ball the day after tomorrow.
And I am terribly curious to see what you're going to surprise me with.
Oh, it's maddening.
What is?
I can't think of anything good. Everything I think of seems foolish and meaningless.
So my little Nora finally acknowledges that at last.
Are you very busy, Torvald?
Well,
What are those papers?
bank business.
Already?
I persuaded the retiring manager to let me make some necessary changes in the staffing and the organization. I can work on it this Christmas week and have it all straight by the new year.
And that was why this poor Krogstad. Well, if you weren't terribly busy, Torvald, I would have asked you for a tremendous favor.
What was it? Tell me.
No one has such perfect taste as you. And I do so want to look nice at the Stenworks fancy dress ball. Torvald, couldn't you take me in hand and decide what I'll go as and what sort of costume I should wear?
So my willful little woman is at a loss and needs someone to come to her rescue.
Yes, I can't do it all without your help.
Oh, very well. I will think on it and we'll soon hit upon something.
It's very kind of you. How pretty these red flowers look. But tell me, was it anything so dreadful, the thing that this Krogstad did?
He forged someone else's name. Do you have any idea what that means?
Couldn't he have been driven to do it by necessity?
Yes. Or, as in so many cases, he may have done it in pure heedlessness. I am not so heartless as to condemn a man for a single fault.
No, you wouldn't.
Many a man has been able to retrieve his character, if he owns his crime and takes his punishment. But this
Punishment?
Krogstad didn't do that. He evaded the law by a cunning trick, and, well, that is what has morally ruined him.
You think that?
Well, just think how a man with a thing like that must always be lying and dissembling. How he has to wear a mask in the presence of those dearest to him, even his own wife and children. I mean, the effect on the children, Nora. That's the worst part of it.
Why?
Because an atmosphere of lies infects and poisons every corner of the home. Every breath that the children draw in such a house contains some germ of evil.
Are you sure of that?
My dear, I have seen it often enough as a lawyer. Nearly all cases of early corruption can be traced to lying mothers.
Well, why do you say mother?
It generally comes from the mother, though the father can have the same influence. Every lawyer knows that only too well. But this fellow Krogstad has been poisoning his children for years with lies and hypocrisy. And that is why I call him morally ruined. So, my sweet Nora must promise me not to plead his cause. Give me your hand, Nora. What is this? Give me your hand. There now. It's settled. I assure you, it would be impossible for me to work with Krogstad. I literally feel physically ill in the presence of such people.
It's so hot in here, and I have such a lot to do.
Yes, and I need to get these papers right before dinner. But I will think on your costume too, and I may have something to hang in gold paper on the Christmas tree. My sweet singing bird.
No, it can't be possible.
The little ones are begging to come in tomorrow.
No, don't let them come in to me. You sleep with them now.
Very well.
We're up to my children. Where's in my home? It's not true. It can't possibly be true. It's Christmas Day. No one will come today or tomorrow either. And yet, nothing in the letterbox is quite empty. Oh, nonsense. You can't do anything. It's impossible. I have 3 little children.
I found the fancy dress clothes at last.
Thank you. Put them on the table.
They're an awful mess.
Wish I could tear them into 100,000 pieces.
Oh, ma'am, no, they can be folded. Just a little patience.
Yes, I'll ask Mrs. Linde to help me.
No, out again in this horrible weather. You'll catch cold, ma'am, and make yourself ill.
Worse than that might happen. How are the children?
Oh, the poor dears are playing with their Christmas presents.
What are they asking for me?
Well, they are so used to being with their mother.
Yes, but Aunt Marie, from now on I won't be able to spend so much time with them.
Well, children get used to anything in time.
Do you think so? Do you think they would forget their mother if she went away forever?
Oh, my goodness, forever.
Aunt Marie, tell me, I've often wondered, how could you bear to give your child away to strangers?
I had to when I came to nurse my little Miss Nora.
Yes, but how did you make up your mind to do it?
Well, I could get such a good position by it, and the poor girl has got herself in trouble. She's lucky too. Besides that, wicked man did nothing for me.
But your daughter has surely forgotten you.
Oh, no, ma'am, that she hasn't. She's written to me twice. Once when she was confirmed, and again when she was married.
Dear kind old Anne. You were a good mother to me when I was little.
Poor little Miss Nora never had another mother but me.
If my little ones had no one else, I know. Nonsense. talking nonsense. Go to them now. Tomorrow you'll see how pretty I'll look.
Oh, I'm sure there'll be no one there as beautiful as my Nora.
Only I dare go out. Only I could be sure nothing would happen while I was gone. Rubbish. Don't think about it. Oh, beautiful gloves. Nonsense. Forget. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, it's you, Christine. There's no one else out there, is there?
I heard you came by asking for me.
Yes, I was just passing by. Oh, but there's something you can help me with. Let's sit here on the sofa. Look at this. Tomorrow evening there's going to be a fancy dress ball upstairs at the Stenborgs, and Torvald wants me to go as a Neapolitan fisher girl and dance the tarantella. I learned it in Capri.
I see. So you're going to give a performance?
Yes, Torvald wants me to. Look, here's the dress. Torvald had it made for me in Italy, but now it's all so torn and...
Oh, we'll soon put that right. It's only the trimming that's come away here and there. Needle and thread? Ah, there we are.
It's very kind of you.
So you'll be dressing up tomorrow. I'll have to come around for a moment to see you. Oh, and I completely forgot to thank you for the lovely evening yesterday.
I don't think it was as lovely as usual. You should have come into town a little earlier, Christine. Torvald knows how to make a home bright and beautiful.
And so do you, I think. I mean, you're not your father's daughter for nothing. But tell me, is Dr. Rank always as depressed as he was yesterday?
No. Yesterday it was particularly noticeable. See, he suffers from a terrible disease. He has consumption of the spine, morbid. His father was a terrible creature who kept mistresses and committed all sorts of excesses. And Dr. Rank has been sickly from childhood, you understand?
How do you come to know such things, Nora?
When you have 3 children, sometimes get visits from women who know about medical matters, and they teach you a thing or two.
Does Dr. Rank come here every day?
Yes, every single day. He's Torvald's most intimate friend from boyhood. He's a good friend of mine, too. Just like one of the family.
But tell me this, is he really quite sincere? I mean, isn't he rather given to flattering people?
No, not in the least. What makes you say that?
Well, yesterday, when you introduced us, he said that my name was one that had often been heard in this house. But later, I noticed that your husband had no idea who I was, so how could
Yes,
Dr.
that's
Rank?
quite right, Christine. You see, Torvald is so hopelessly devoted to me, as he says, that he likes to have me absolutely to himself. When we were first married, he would get almost jealous if I would even speak of any of my friends from home, so naturally I stopped doing it. But I often talk to Dr. Rank of such things because he enjoys it.
Listen to me, Nora dear. I'm a bit older than you and have a little more experience. So let me tell you, you ought to stop this business with Dr. Rank.
What business?
The whole affair. Yesterday you were speaking of a rich admirer who's going to give you lots of money.
Yes, one who doesn't exist, unfortunately. What's
Is
that?
Dr. Rank rich?
Yes, he is.
And he has no one to provide for.
No, no one.
And he comes here every day.
Yes, I've told you so.
But how can a man of his education be so tactless?
I don't understand you.
Don't pretend, Nora. Do you not think I can guess who loaned you those 250 pounds?
Are you out of your mind? What are you thinking? A friend who comes here every day. That would be unbearable.
Then it really isn't him.
No, I assure you, it never even occurred to me to ask Dr. Rank. Besides, he had no money. He came into it afterwards.
Well, I think that was very lucky for you, Nora dear.
Oh, I never dreamed of asking Dr. Rank. But I'm sure if I did ask him.
But of course you won't.
Of course not. Can't imagine it would ever be necessary. I'm sure if I spoke to Dr. Rank.
Behind your husband's back?
I've got to get out of the other thing, and that was behind his back too. I've got to get clear of it.
Yes, that's what I was telling you yesterday.
A man can manage these things much easier than a woman.
One's own husband, yes.
Nonsense. When you repay a debt, you get your bond back, don't you?
Yes, of course.
You can tear it into 100,000 pieces and burn it up, the nasty, fluffy thing.
Nora, you're hiding something from me. You can tell? Something's happened to you since yesterday morning. What is it?
Christine, whoosh, there's Torvald. Would you mind taking the sewing into the nursery? You can't bear to see sewing lying around. Have Anne-Marie help you.
Very well. But I'm not leaving this house until we've talked about this.
Torvald, I've been longing for you to come home.
Was that the dressmaker?
No, that was Christine. She's just going to help mend my costume. Tomorrow you'll see how pretty I'll look.
Oh, yes, wasn't that a happy thought of mine?
Wonderful. Wasn't it nice of me, too, to give in?
Nice. To give in to your husband? Oh, you little rogue. I know you didn't mean it that way, but I won't disturb you. I expect you'll want to try it on.
And I expect you're going to work.
Yes. Look, I've just been down to the bank.
Torvald,
Yes.
your little squirrel were to ask you very prettily for something.
Well,
Would you do it?
I'd like to know what it is first.
Your squirrel would run about and do all sorts of tricks for you if you'd be nice and do what you want.
Out with it.
Your skylark would sing in all the rooms.
My skylark does that already.
Well, I would be a fairy and dance for you in the moonlight, Torvald.
Nora, you can't mean that request you made this morning.
Yes, Torvald.
Do you really have the courage to bring that up again?
Yes, Torvald, I beg you, you must let Krogstad keep his position in the bank.
My little Nora, it's his place that I've arranged for Mrs. Linde.
Yes, and you've been very kind about that, but you could let some other clerk go instead of Krogstad.
Well, this is incredible obstinacy. Because you thoughtlessly promised to put in a good word for him, I am expected
No,
to...
that's not it. It's for your own sake. This man writes in the most vulgar newspapers. You said so yourself. He could do you an unspeakable harm. I'm frightened to death of him.
I understand. It's memories of the past that frighten you.
What do you mean?
Well, naturally, you're thinking of your father.
Yes, just think what those horrible creatures wrote in the papers about Papa. Just horrible slanders. I believe they could have gotten dismissed if the department had not sent you down, and if you had not been so kind and helpful to him.
My dear Nora, there is a considerable difference between your father and me. Your father's reputation was not above suspicion. Mine is. And I hope it will remain so.
Oh, but no one knows what spiteful people may hit upon. We could live so quietly and happily in our cozy, peaceful home, just you and I and the children. That's why I beg you, Torvald.
And it is just by your pleading that you make it impossible for me to keep him. It is already known at the bank that I intend to dismiss Krogstad. If word got out now that the new manager allowed his wife to change his mind...
Well, what then?
Well, nothing, of course, as long as Miss Obstinate gets her way. But do you expect me to make a laughingstock of myself to my whole staff? To let people think that I can be swayed by all sorts of outside influence? Believe me, I'd soon feel the consequences. And besides, there is one thing that remains that makes it impossible for Krogstad to stay at the bank while I'm its manager.
Well, what is that?
Now, perhaps I could have overlooked his moral failings if necessary.
Yes, you could, couldn't you?
And I hear he is good at his work. But I knew him at school. It was one of those rash friendships one later regrets. Well, I might as well confess. We were on terms to call each other by our Christian names, but this tactless idiot makes no attempt to conceal it. On the contrary, he thinks it gives him the right to be familiar with me, and every day it's Torvald this and Torvald that. It's damned annoying. He would make my position in the bank intolerable.
Torvald, you can't be serious.
No? Why not?
Because it's such a petty reason.
What did you say? Petty. You think I am petty?
No, on the
Well,
contrary.
never mind. You call my motives petty, then I must be petty too. Petty. Well, we'll soon put an end to this. Helen?
What are you going to do?
Settle it. Take this letter downstairs at once. Find a messenger and see that he delivers it immediately. The address is on it, and here's the money.
Very well, sir.
There, little Miss Obstinate.
Torvald, what was that letter?
Krogstad's dismissal.
Oh, call it back. Oh, call her back. There's still time. Do it for my sake, for the children's sake. Call her back. You don't know what that letter can do to us.
It's too late.
Yes, it's too late.
Nora, I can forgive your anxiety, though it really is an insult to me. It is, indeed. I mean, isn't it an insult to think that I would be threatened by a vindictive hack journalist? But I forgive you all the same because it is such a charming testimony to your love for me. And that is as it should be. Let what will happen happen. Come what will, I will have the strength and courage to bear the burden for both of us.
What do you mean by that?
Oh, everything. The whole burden.
You will never have to do that.
Very well. We will share it, Nora, as man and wife. And that is as it should be. There now. Do you feel better? Come, don't look at me with those frightened dove's eyes. It's only your imagination. Now, you ought to play through the tarantella and practice your tambourine. I'll go into the inner office and shut both doors. I won't hear anything. You can make as much noise as you please. And when rain comes, just tell them where to find me.
Capable of doing it. He will do it. He will do it in spite of everything. No, never that. Anything but that. Must be some way out of it. Dr. Rake. Anything but that, no matter what it is. Good evening, Dr. Rake. I knew you'd buy a ring. You mustn't go into Torvald yet. He's busy at some.
And you?
No, I'm always pleased to have you.
Thank you. I shall avail myself of that privilege as long as I can.
What do you mean as long as you can?
Yes, does that frighten you?
It's an odd expression. Is something likely to happen?
Something I've been expecting. Just didn't think it would happen quite so soon.
What have you found out, Dr. Rake? You must tell me.
I am going downhill. And there's nothing to be done about it.
Oh, it's you.
Who else? There's no use lying to myself. I am the most wretched of my patients, Mrs. Helmer. Lately, I've been auditing my internal economy. It's bankrupt. Within a month, I will be rotting in a churchyard.
What an ugly thing to say.
Yes. The thing itself is so ghostly ugly. And the worst part is that I have to go through so much more ugliness first. I will make one more examination of myself. And when I have done that, I will know pretty certainly when the final horrors will begin. Now, there is something I want to say. Helmer's delicate nature shrinks away from anything that is ugly. I will not have him in my sick room.
Dr.
No,
Ray.
I won't have him there. Not on any account. I bar my door to him. When I'm pretty certain that the worst has come, I'll send you my visiting card with the black cross on it. And then you'll know the filthy process has begun.
You are just impossible today. I did so want you to be in a really good mood.
With death stalking me. It's just to atone for another man's sin. And where's the justice in that? And in every single family, in one way or another, some similar merciless retribution that works.
Rubbish! Cheer up.
You're right. Laughter is all the damn thing is good for. My poor innocent spy has to suffer from my father's youthful amusements.
Yes, I suppose he was too partial to asparagus and foie gras.
Yes, and to truffles.
Truffles, of course, and oysters too, I suppose.
Oysters, yes, that goes without saying.
And all that important champagne to wash them down. It is sad these lovely things should affect our bones.
Yes. Especially the unlucky bones, which have not had the satisfaction of enjoyment.
Why do you smile, Dr. A?
No, it was you that laughed.
No, it was you that smiled.
Oh, you are a worse little rogue than I thought.
I'm in a silly mood today.
So it seems.
Dear Dr. Rank, you mustn't let death take you away from Torvald and me.
You'll get over the loss. Those who are gone are soon forgotten.
Do you believe that?
People form new ties, and then...
Who will form new ties?
Oh, both you and Helmer, when I'm gone. You're on that road already, I think. What was that Mrs. Linde doing here last night?
Well, surely you're not jealous of poor Christy.
Oh, indeed I am. She'll be my successor in this home when I've moved on.
Shh, not so loud. She's in there.
Oh, again today. There you see.
She's only come to mend my dress for me. Good gracious, how unreasonable you are. Be nice, Dr. Rank. Tomorrow you'll see how beautifully I'll dance. And you must imagine I'm doing it just for you. And Torvald too, of course. Sit down and I'll show you something.
What is it?
Look there.
Silk stockings.
Flesh-colored, aren't they lovely? It's dark in here now. Although you must only look at the foot. Very well, you can look at the whole thing. Why do you look so critical? Don't you think they'll fit?
Oh, I can't possibly give you a competent opinion on that.
For shame! Keep back!
And what other wonders am I to see?
Not another thing for being so naughty.
You know, when I sit here talking so intimately to you, I cannot imagine what would have become of me had I never entered this house.
Yes, I believe you feel at home with us.
And now to have to leave it all.
Nonsense, you're not leaving us.
To not be able to leave behind a single token of one's gratitude. Not even a passing regret. Just an empty space to be filled by the next comer.
If I were to ask you for
what?
For a great proof of your friendship,
Yes, yes.
that is to do me a very great service.
But you really for once made me so happy.
And you don't know what it is yet.
So then tell me.
No, I can't, Dr. Rank. It's too much. Besides, it's not just a service. I also need help and advice.
That's so much the better. I cannot imagine what you mean. But do tell me. You trust me.
More than anyone else. You're my best and truest friend. So I will tell you. Well then, Dr. Rankin, it's something you must help me to prevent. You know how dearly Torvald loves me. He wouldn't
Nora.
hesitate a moment.
Nora. Do you think he's the only one
The only one?
who would gladly give his life for you?
Oh. I see.
I swore you would know it before I go. And I cannot think of a better opportunity. And now you know it, Nora. And now you know, too, that you can trust me as you can no one else.
Let me pass. Helen, bring the lamp in. Dr. Rank, that was really horrid of you.
But I've loved you as deeply as anyone else. Was that horrid of me?
No, but then you should tell me so. There was really no need.
What do you mean? Did you know? Mrs. Helmer, I asked you, did you know?
How can I tell what I knew or didn't know? How could you be so clumsy, Dr. Rank? We were getting on so nicely.
Yes, well, at any rate, now you know that I'm ready to serve you body and soul, so please go on.
Go on after this.
I beg you to tell me what it is.
I can't tell you anything.
Yes, yes, you mustn't punish me like this. Let me do for you whatever I can.
Oh, you can do nothing for me now. Besides, I don't really need any help. It's all in my imagination. You'll see. You're a fine gentleman, Dr. Rank. Aren't you ashamed of yourself now that the lamp has come in?
Not a bit. But perhaps I should say my final farewell.
No, you should not. Of course, you must come as you always have done. You know very well Torvald can't do without you.
Yes, and you.
You know I'm always pleased to have you here.
That is just what's led me astray, you know. You're real to me. It has often seemed you'd just as soon be with me as with Helmer.
Yes, you see, there are some people one loves best, and others whom one would always rather have as companions.
Yes, yes, there's something to that.
When I was at home, of course, I loved Papa best, but I always thought it tremendous fun to sneak into the maids' rooms because they were such fun. They never told me what I ought to do. They were such fun to listen to.
I see. And it is their place I take.
Dr. Rank, I did not mean it like that. Surely you can understand with Torvald it's the same as with Papa.
Something wrong.
No, not in the least. It's my dress.
Your dress is here.
Yes, that one. This is another one. I ordered it. Torvald mustn't know.
Aha! So that was the great secret.
Yes, of course. Now, please go into him. He's in his study. Keep him.
No, don't worry. I won't let him escape.
Downstairs.
He came up backstairs. He's in the kitchen.
Didn't you tell him I had this in
I
there?
did, but it was no use, ma'am.
He won't go away.
Not until he's spoken to you, no.
Then show him in. And quiet. Helen, don't tell anyone. It's a surprise for my husband.
Oh, yes, I understand. Very well, ma'am.
What's happening? Quietly, my husband is at home.
I don't care.
What do you want?
An explanation.
Well, hurry up then.
I
What is it?
suppose you know I have got my dismissal.
I couldn't prevent it, Mr. Krogstad. I fought as hard as I could, but it was no use.
Does your husband love you so little? He knows what I can do to you, and yet
Surely
he dares
you
to.
don't think I told him.
I didn't think so at all. It wouldn't have been the least like our dear Torvald Helmer to show so much courage.
Mr. Krogstad, please speak respectfully of my husband.
Certainly, with all the respect he deserves. But since you are so anxious to keep the matter secret, I presume you have a little clearer idea of what you've done than you had yesterday.
More than you could teach me.
Yes, such a bad lawyer as I am.
What is it you want from me?
I only wanted to see how you were. I've been thinking about you all day, Mrs. Helmer. Even a mere moneylender, a gutter journalist. In short, even a man like me has a little of what is called feeling.
Show it then. Think of my little children.
Have you and your husband thought of mine? Let's forget about that. I only wanted to tell you that you shouldn't take the matter too seriously. I'm not taking any action for the present.
course not. I knew you wouldn't.
There's no reason why this matter can't be settled amicably. No one will know the slightest about it. It will remain among us three.
My husband must never know anything about it.
Well, how can you prevent that? Can you pay the balance?
Although not immediately.
Do you have a means of raising the money in the next few days?
None that I care to use.
Well, and even if you had, it wouldn't have helped you now. However much you offered me, I would not give you back that bond.
What are you going to do with it?
Well, I want to keep it, to have it in my possession. So if you were thinking of some desperate resolution,
I was.
if you had thought of running away from your husband and children,
I
or
have.
if you had thought of something even worse,
How did you know that?
give up the idea.
How did you know I thought of
Oh,
that?
most of us think of that at first. I thought of it too, but I didn't have the courage.
Neither do I.
That's true, isn't it? You don't have the courage either.
No, I don't.
Besides, it would have been very foolish. Once the first domestic storm is over, I have a letter in my pocket for your husband,
Telling him everything?
as delicately as possible.
Terrible letter. He must never see
Mrs.
it out.
Helmer, I thought I just
How much money do you
explained.
want? I will fight for
I
my
am
husband.
not asking your husband for money.
What do you want then?
I'll tell you, I want to get back on my feet, Mrs. Helmer. I want to get on in the world. Your husband is going to help me. For the last 18 months, I've been in bitter need. I was desperate, and I've been content to fight my way up step by step. Now I've been thrown down again, and I will not be satisfied with just getting my job back. I'm going to get to the top. I'm going to get back in the bank again in a higher position than before. Your husband is going to create a position for me.
He will never do that.
He will do that, I know him. But he won't dare risk a scandal. And when I'm in there with him, you will see. Within a year, I will be the manager's right hand. It will be Nils Krogstad who manages that bank, not Torvald Helmer.
That will never happen.
Do you mean that you
I have the courage for it now.
Oh, you don't frighten me, a pampered pretty creature like
You'll
you.
see.
Oh,
You'll see.
under the ice perhaps, down in the cold black water, and then in the spring to float back up again. Ugly, hairless, unrecognizable.
You can't frighten
Nor
me.
you me. People don't do such things, Mrs. Helmer. Besides, what use would it be? I have your husband in my pocket all the same.
Well, afterwards, when I'm no
Oh,
longer...
have you forgotten that then your reputation will be in my hands? Well, now I have warned you. Don't do anything foolish. When Helmer has read my letter, I expect to hear from him. And remember, it is your husband himself who has forced me to such ways again. And for that, I will never forgive him. Goodbye, Mrs. Helmer.
He's going. He's not leaving the letter in the box out. That would be possible. What is he doing? He's just standing outside the front door. Has he changed his mind? In the letterbox. Oh, Torvald, now I'm lost.
There, I think it's all right now. Shall we try it on?
Christine, come here. What's the matter with you? You look frantic. Come here. Look there. Do you see that letter? There. In the glass in the letterbox?
Yes, I see it.
The letter's from Krogstad.
Nora, it was Krogstad who mentioned the money.
Yes. Now Torvald will know all about it.
Oh, I really think that's better for the both of you.
You don't know all of it. I forged a name.
Good heavens.
Listen to me, Christine. You must be my witness.
Witness, what am I
If
saying?
I went out of my mind, and it might easily happen,
Nora.
or if something should happen to me so that I couldn't be here, or if someone should try to take all the blame upon himself, you understand?
You don't know
You
what
must
you're
be my
saying.
witness. That it isn't true, Christine. I know quite well what I'm saying. I'm telling you, no one else has known anything about it. I did the whole thing entirely on my own. Remember that.
I will, but I don't understand what you mean.
How could you? A miracle is going to happen.
A miracle?
Yes, a miracle, but it's so dreadful. It must not happen, not for the world.
I will go talk to Krogstad.
Don't. It'll do you harm.
There was a time when he would have done anything for me. Where does he live?
How should I know? Oh, the letter is already.
Nora?
Oh, what is it? What do you want?
Well, don't be frightened. We're not coming in. He's locked the door. Are you trying on your dress?
Yes, I'm trying it on. It suits me so well, Torvald.
Why, he lives just around the corner.
But the letter's in the box.
And your husband keeps the key?
Yes, always.
Well, Krogstad must ask for his letter back unread and must find some pretext.
My husband always checks the box at just this time.
Delay him, keep him occupied. I'll be back as quickly as I can.
Torvald!
Well, man, come into his own drawing room again. Come along, Rank. Now we'll see. What is this?
What Torvald do?
Well, Rank led me to expect a grand transformation.
So I understood. It seems I was mistaken.
Yes, no one will see me in my dress until tomorrow evening.
Oh, my dear Nora, you look so worn out. Have you been practicing too hard?
No, I've not practiced at all yet.
Oh, but you'll need to.
Yes, I know, Torvald. But I can't do it all without your help. I've forgotten the whole thing.
We'll soon polish it up again.
Yes, help me. Torvald, promise me you will. I'm so nervous. All those people. You must give yourself up entirely to me. Not the tiniest bit of business. You won't even touch a pen. Promise me.
I promise. Tonight I will be wholly at your service. Helpless little darling. But first, there's just...
What are you doing there?
Well, just seeing if any letters have come.
Oh, no, Torvald, don't do that.
Why not?
Torvald, I beg you, there's nothing there.
Well, let me just see. Aha.
I can't dance tomorrow if I don't practice with you now.
Are you really so frightened, Nora, dear?
Yes, dreadfully. Sit down and play for me, Torvald. Correct me and put me right as you always do.
With greatest pleasure, if you wish me to.
Oh. Now play for me. Now I'll dance.
Slower. Slower.
I can't do it slower.
Not so violently, Nora. No, that will never do.
Did I tell you so?
Here, let me play the part.
Yes, do. I can direct you better then.
You're having some fun, Christy.
Yes, but Nora, dear, you're dancing as if your life depended on it.
Well, so stop.
Stop, Frank. Stop. This is sheer madness, I say. Stop it. I would never have believed it. You've forgotten everything I taught you.
Didn't I tell you so?
You will need a lot of coaching.
Yes, help me, Torvald. Promise me you will. You must coach me up to the last minute. You must not think of anything but me either today or tomorrow. No letters. You won't open a single letter. You won't even open the letter box.
Nora, you're still frightened of that man.
Yes, I am.
Nora, I can see from your face that there is a letter from him already there.
I don't know. I think so, but you're not to read anything now. Nothing ugly must come between us until it's all over.
Don't contradict her.
Well, very well, the child shall have her way. But tomorrow night, once the dance is over...
Well, then you will be free.
Dinner served, ma'am.
We'll have some champagne, Helen.
Very good, ma'am.
Well, hello, are we going to have a banquet?
Yes, and we'll drink champagne until dawn. And macaroons, Helen, lots of macaroons. Just this once.
Come, don't get so excited. Be the little songbird that I know.
Yes, dear, I will. Now go and sit down, and you too, Dr. Rank. Christine, you must help me.
No, there's something in the wind is that she isn't expecting.
Certainly not. It's nothing more than this childish anxiety I was telling you about.
Well,
He's gone out of town.
I saw it in your face.
He'll be back tomorrow evening. I left a note for him.
You shouldn't have bothered. Things must run their course. After all, there's something wonderful and waiting for a miracle to happen.
Nora, what is it that you're waiting for?
You wouldn't understand. Go in and sit down. I'll be in a moment. .5 7 hours until midnight, and then another 24 hours till the next midnight. The Tarantella will be over. 24 and 7. It's 31 hours to live.
Where's my little Skylark?
Here she is.
Not here yet. And not much time left. If only he hasn't. There he is. Come in, there's no one here.
I found a note from you at home. What does this mean?
I must speak with you.
And it must be here.
It's not possible where I live. I have no private entrance. Come in, we're very much alone. The maid is asleep and the Helmers are at the dance upstairs.
I see. So the Helmers are dancing tonight. Really?
Yes, why not?
Certainly. Why not?
No, Nils, you and I must talk.
Have we anything more to say to each other?
A great deal.
I wouldn't have thought so.
No, you wouldn't, because you never properly understood me.
What was there to understand except what was obvious to all the world? A heartless woman throws a man over when a better chance turns up.
Do you truly believe I'm so utterly heartless? Do you believe that I broke with you easily?
Didn't you?
Oh, Nils, did you really think that?
If not, why did you write to me the way you did?
Since I had to break with you, it was my duty to destroy what you felt for me.
So that was it. And all this for the sake of money.
Do not forget that I had a helpless mother and 2 little brothers. We couldn't wait for you, Nils. Your prospects were remote.
Maybe so, but you had no right to cast me off for someone else.
I don't know. I've often asked myself whether I had that right.
When I lost you, it was as if all solid ground was swept from under my feet. Look at me now. I am a shipwrecked man clinging to the wreckage.
But help me be at hand.
It was, then you came and stood in my way.
Without my knowledge. Nils, I only learned today that it'd be your position at the bank I'd be
I
taking.
believe you if you say so. But now that you know, will you resign?
No, because it wouldn't help you in the least.
Help? I would have done it all the same.
I've learned to be practical. Life and bitter necessity have taught me that.
And life has taught me not to trust fine speeches.
Then life has taught you something sensible. But deeds you will trust?
What are you saying?
You said you were like a shipwrecked man clinging to
I
wreckage.
had good reason to say it.
Well, I'm like a shipwrecked woman clinging to wreckage. No one to live for, no one to care for.
Even your own choice.
There was no other choice
Well,
then.
what then?
Nils, suppose 2 shipwrecked people could join hands.
What are you saying?
And 2 on a raft stand a better chance than each on their own.
Christine,
What do you think brought me to town?
You mean you were thinking of me?
All my life, as long as I can remember, I have worked, and it's been my greatest joy. But now, I'm alone in the world, lost and empty. There's no happiness happiness in working for oneself. Nils, give me someone, something to work for.
I don't believe this. This is a woman's hysterical craving for self-sacrifice.
Have you ever known me to be hysterical?
You really do it. Tell me, do you know about my past?
Yes.
And do you know what people think of me here?
You seem to me to imply that with me, you might have been a different man.
Oh, I'm certain of it.
Is it too late now?
Christine, do you know what you're saying? Yes, I can see in your face you do. You really have the courage.
I need to be a mother to someone. And your children need a mother. Nils, you and I need each other. I believe in your better self. I dare do anything with you.
Thank you, Christine. Now I don't think the world sees me as you do. But I forgot.
Hush, the tarantella. Go, quickly go.
But why? What is it?
Do you hear the dancing upstairs? When it's over, they'll come back.
Yes, I would go, but it's no use. You don't know what steps I've taken against the Helmers.
Yes, Nils, I do know.
And yet you still have the courage.
I know what despair might drive a man to do.
If only I could undo it.
You could. Your letter's still in the box.
Are you sure?
Quite sure, but
Is that what it all means? You want to save your friend at any price? Tell me the truth, is that it?
Nils, a woman who has sold herself once for the sake of others doesn't do it again.
I will demand my letter back.
No.
No, I'll wait here for Helmer to come down. I'll insist he give me back my letter that's only about my dismissal.
No,
He's not
Nils,
treated it.
you must not recall that letter.
But isn't that the real reason you asked to meet me here?
Yes, in my first moment of fright it was, but a whole day has passed since then. And in that time, I've seen incredible things in this house. Helmer must know everything. This unhappy secret must be revealed. Those two must come to a full understanding. There must be an end to all these shifts and evasions.
Very well, if you're willing to risk it. But there's one thing I can do, and we'll do it once.
Hurry, go. We're not safe another moment.
I'll wait for you downstairs.
Yes, do. You must see me home.
I've never been so happy in all my life.
What a change. What a difference. Someone to live for, to work for. A home to bring joy into. I won't let this slip through my fingers. If only they were... No! Here they are. I want to go upstairs. I don't want to leave so early.
But my dearest Nora,
Please, Torvald, just 1 hour more?
not 1 minute more. You know what we agreed. Into the drawing room. You'll catch cold out here.
Good evening. Christine.
You're so late, Mrs. Linde.
Forgive me. Yes, I so wanted to see Nora in her costume.
Have you been sitting here waiting for me?
Yes, unfortunately, when I arrived, you had already gone upstairs. I so couldn't go away again without seeing you.
Oh, well, then take a good look at her. I would say she's worth looking at. Wouldn't you, Mrs. Linde?
Yes, I'd say so.
Isn't she charming? Isn't she exquisite? Everyone said so. But what's to be done with this dreadful, stubborn creature? Would you believe that I had to nearly force her away?
Please, Torvald, you will regret not letting me stay even a half hour more.
Do you hear that, Mrs. Linde? She dances her tarantella, makes a roaring success, but very well deserved, though her performance may have been a little more than artistically necessary, technically speaking, but never mind. The point is, she had a success, a tremendous success. Now, do you think that I could let her remain there after that to spoil the effect? Thank you, no. I took my little my capricious little maiden, I should say, under my arm. I took one quick turn around the room, a curtsy to all sides, and, as they say in novels, the beautiful apparition disappeared. An exit should always be effective, Mrs. Linde. Oh, but that is what I cannot make Nora understand. Dear me, it's hot in here. Well, hello, it's dark in here. Oh, yes, of course. Excuse me.
Well, I've spoken with him.
And?
You must tell your husband everything.
I knew it.
You have nothing to fear from Krogstad, but you must tell your husband.
Oh, I won't tell him.
And the letter will.
Thank you, Christy. Now I know what I must do.
Well, Mrs. Linde, have you admired her?
Yes, and now I must say goodnight.
Oh, no. What, already? Oh, does this knitting belong to you?
Oh, yes it does, thank you. I nearly forgot it.
So you knit.
I do?
You know, you ought to embroider instead.
Really? Why?
Well, it's much more becoming. Watch. You hold the embroidery with your left hand and work it with the needle with the right. Like this, with a long, graceful curve. Do you see?
Yes, I suppose so.
But look here. Knitting is an ugly business. Your arms hold it close to your sides, clumsy needles going up and down. There's something Chinese about it. That really was excellent champagne they served us.
Well, good night, Nora. And don't be stubborn anymore.
Yes, quite right, Mrs. Linde.
Good night, Mr. Helmer.
Good night. Good night. I hope you'll make it home safely. Now, I would be happy to, but you have such a short way to go. Yes, well, good night. All right, then. Good night. Should got rid of her at last. She isn't much before that woman.
You're very tired, Torvald.
No, not in the least.
Nor sleepy?
On the contrary, I feel particularly lively. And you? Yes, you do look rather tired and sleepy.
Yes, I'm very tired. I will sleep soon.
There. You see, I was right not to let you stay any longer.
Everything you do is right.
And now my little skylark is speaking reasonably. Did you notice how cheerful Rain was this evening?
Was he? I didn't get a chance to speak to him.
Well, I hardly did, but I have not seen him in such good spirits in a long time. It's nice to be at home again with you, you enchanting creature.
Don't look at me like that, Torvald.
Well, why shouldn't I look at my dearest treasure, at all the beauty that is mine and mine alone? All mine.
You mustn't say these things to me tonight.
You have the tarantella still in your blood, I see. It makes you more desirable. Oh, listen. The other guests are beginning to go. Nora. Soon the whole house will be empty.
Yes, I hope so.
Yes, of course you do. Do you know, Nora, when I am with you at a party, among strangers as we were tonight, do you know why I keep so far from you and speak so little to you and only steal a glance at you now and then? Do you know why I do that? It is because I pretend we are secretly in love, and that you are my secret young fiancé, and no one dreams there is anything between us.
Yes, yes. I know your thoughts are with me.
When we were leaving, I wrapped the shawl over your beautiful young shoulders, the wonderful curve of your neck. And I imagined that you've just come from the wedding. And I have taken you to my home for the first time. That we are alone together for the first time. Quiet, alone, young, trembling and beautiful. All this evening, well, I've been longing for you. When I watched you swaying and whirling in the tarantella, my blood was on fire. I couldn't stand it any longer. That's why I made you come home with me so early.
Go away, Torvald. Leave me alone. I don't want this. I won't.
Nora, you must be joking. Won't. Aren't I your husband?
Did you?
Well, who is it?
It's me, man. Come in for a moment.
What does he want? Just a minute. Come, that's kind of you not to pass by our door.
Thought I heard your voices and I thought I would look in. Ah, yes, these dear familiar rooms. How cozy you two are here.
No, well, you seemed pretty cozy upstairs too.
Oh, I did. Why not? Why shouldn't one make the most of this world? As much as one can, for as long as one can. The wine was excellent.
Oh, especially the champagne.
You noticed that too. It's almost incredible how much I managed to get down.
Yes, Torvald drank a great deal of champagne tonight, too.
Did he?
Yes, and it always puts him in such good spirits afterwards.
Well, why shouldn't the man have a merry evening after a well-spent day?
Oh, well spent? I don't know that I can boast that.
No, but I can, you see.
Dr. Rank, I believe you carried out a scientific experiment today.
Exactly.
Well, just listen. Little Nora talking about scientific investigations.
May I congratulate you on the result?
You may indeed.
It was good then.
The best possible for both doctor and patient. Certainty.
Certainty.
Absolute certainty. So wasn't I entitled to a merry evening after that?
You certainly were, Dr. Rank.
Yes, well, I agree, provided that you don't have to pay for it in the morning.
You can't get anything in this world without paying for it.
Dr. Rank, you are fond of masquerades, aren't you?
Yes, if the disguises are amusing.
Tell me, what will we two wear at the next masquerade?
You little feather brain, are you thinking of the next one already?
We two. All right, I'll tell you. You will go as the spirit of happiness.
Well, what costume would convey that?
Your wife would go in her everyday clothes.
Well said. But, do you know what you'll be?
Oh yes, my dear friend. I have no doubt about that.
Well,
At the next masquerade, I will be invisible.
well, that's a strange idea.
There is a big black hat. Haven't you heard of it? And when you put it on your head, it comes down all over you, and no one can see you.
Yes, you are quite right.
But I plead for getting what I came here for. Helmer, give me a cigar for the dark events.
With the greatest pleasure.
Thank you.
Let me give you a light.
Thank you. Now, good night.
Goodbye, my dear old friend. Well, goodbye.
Sleep well, Dr. Rank.
Thank you for that wish.
Wish me the same.
You. Very well, then. And thank you for the light.
He has been drinking too much.
Maybe. Torvald, what are you doing there?
Emptying the letterbox. It's nearly full. There will be no room for the newspaper in the morning.
Are you going to work tonight?
You know quite well I am not. What is this? Well, someone's been at the lock.
The lock.
Yes, I'm sure of it. But what can it mean? I wouldn't think one of the maids would. Well, here's a broken hairpin. Nora, it's one of yours.
Then it must have been the children.
Yes, well, you will have to break them of the habit. There. At last, I've got it open. Oh, Helen? Helen? Put out the lamp in the hall. There. You see how they've piled up? What's this?
No, Torvald.
Two visiting cards from Rank.
From Dr. Rank?
There's Peter Rank, Doctor of Medicine. Huh, well, they were on the top. He must have dropped them as he was leaving.
Has he written anything on them?
Yes, there's a black cross above his name. Look there. What a strange idea. It's as if he's announcing his own death.
So he is.
Well, Do you know something? Has he told you anything?
Yes, when these cards come, he's taken his leave from us. He plans to shut himself up in his house and die.
My poor friend. I knew we wouldn't keep him long, but so soon. And he hides himself away like a wounded beast.
If it has to happen, it's best to go silently, don't you think so, Torvald?
He had so grown into our lives. It's hard for me to think of him as out of them. He and his sufferings and his loneliness, well, it formed a sort of cloudy background to the sunlight of our happiness. Well, perhaps it is best. For him anyway, and perhaps for us too. My darling Nora, now we are completely dependent on each other. I feel as if I could never hold you tight enough. Do you know, Nora, I've often wished that some danger might threaten you so that I might risk body and soul, everything for your sake.
Read your letters now, Torvald.
No, not tonight. I want to be with you, my darling wife.
The thought of your dying friend.
Yes, you're right. And ugliness has come between us. Thoughts of death and decay. This has upset us both. We must try to forget about it. Until then, you go to your room and I will go to mine.
Good night, Torvald. Good night.
Good night. Sleep well. I'll go and read my letters.
See him again. No. Never. Oh, never to see my children again. No. Never. Black, icy water. Bottomless. I wish it were over. He's got it now. He's reading it. Oh, not yet, Torvald. Not yet. Goodbye. Goodbye, little ones.
Nora, what is this? Do you know what is in this letter?
Yes, I do. Let me go. Let me pass.
Where are you going?
Without saving me, Torvald.
True? Is what he writes true? No, it is impossible. It can't be true.
It's true. I loved you more than anything else in the world.
Oh, don't make silly excuses.
Torvald!
Richard, woman, what have you done?
Let me leave. You will not suffer for my sake. I will not let you take the blame.
Oh, no theatrical errors, please. You will stay here and give me an explanation. Do you understand what you have done? Answer me! Do you understand what you have done?
Yes, now I'm beginning to understand thoroughly.
What a horrible awakening. For 8 years, she who was my pride and joy, a hypocrite, a liar, worse, a criminal. The unutterable ugliness of it all, the hideousness of it. And I should have known something like this would happen. I should have seen it. All your father's lack of principle, be silent. All your father's lack of principle handed down. No religion, no morals, no sense of duty. I am punished for ignoring his faults. I did it for your sake, and you reward me like this.
Yes, like this.
Now you have destroyed all of my happiness. You have ruined my future. It is horrible to think of. I am the power of a scoundrel. He can do what he likes with me, demand what he pleases, order me to do anything. I dare not refuse him, and I am condemned to such humiliation by an unprincipled woman.
When I'm out of this world, you will be free.
Oh, no fine speeches, please. Your father was always ready with them too. Or tell me, what good would it be to me if you were out of the world, as you say? None. He could still publish the story all the same. And if he does, I may easily be suspected of collusion. People will say that I was behind it, that I prompted you. And for all this, I have to thank you. You, whom I have cherished and spoiled during the whole of our married life. Do you understand now what you have done to me?
Yes.
It's incredible to think of. I can't take it in. But we must come to some understanding. Take off that shawl. Take it off! I must try to appease him somehow. The matter must be hushed up at any cost. And as for you and me, well, we must make no outward change. We must continue to live together as before, but only in the eyes of the world. You will remain in my house. But the children will not be left in your care. I dare not trust them for you. To think I have to say this to someone whom I have loved so dearly and whom I still love. No. That must be finished. Henceforth there can be no question of happiness. We must merely try to save the shreds and ruins, the appearance. What can that be? At this hour, can it be the worst? Can he... Well, hide yourself, Nora. Say that you are ill.
A letter for you, ma'am.
Give it to me. Yes, it's from him. Well, you won't read it. I'll read it myself.
Yes, read it.
I barely have the courage to do so. This may mean ruin for us both. No, I must know. Nora, no, I must read it again. Yes. Oh, it's true. Nora, I am saved. Nora, I'm saved.
Linde?
Oh, yes. Well, you two, of course, we're both saved. Both of us. Look, he's returning your IOU. He says, well, that he regrets and apologizes. That a happy change in his life. Oh, never mind what he says. We're saved, Nora. Oh, Nora, no one can harm me now. No, first, let me destroy this hateful thing. Let me see. No, I won't even read it. The whole thing will be as a bad dream to me. There. It's gone. He says that since Christmas Eve, these must have been 3 dreadful days for you, Nora.
I fought a hard fight these 3 days.
And suffered agonies and seen no way out, but no, we won't even talk about it. We will only shout with joy and keep reminding ourselves it's all over. It's all over. Nora, you don't seem to understand. It's all over. What is this frightened look on your face? I understand. Poor little Nora, you can't believe that I have forgiven you, but I have. Nora, I have forgiven you everything. I know that what you did for love of me.
That is true.
You have loved me as a wife should love her husband. It was only your inexperience that judged the wrong means. But do you think that I could love you any less because you cannot act without guidance? No, only lean on me. I will counsel you. I would not be a true man, Nora, if this womanly helplessness did not make you twice as attractive to me. Now, never mind the hard things that I said in my first moment of terror when the world seemed to be tumbling about my ears. I have forgiven you, Nora. Believe me, I have forgiven you.
Thank you for your forgiveness.
Oh, wait. Don't go. What are you doing in there?
Taking off my fancy dress.
Yes, do that. And try and calm yourself and get your balance again. My frightened little songbird. Now, rest assured, I have broad wings to shield you. How warm and cozy our home is. Yes, you are safe here. Nora, here I can shelter you like the hunted dove that I have saved from the claws of a hawk. Your wildly beating heart will find peace with me. It will happen, Nora. Believe me. Little by little. Tomorrow, yes, all of this will seem quite different. Soon, everything will be as it was before. And I won't even have to tell you again that I have forgiven you. You will feel for yourself that it's true. Do you really think that I could ever disown you, Nora, or even reproach you? Well, you do not know a man's true heart, Nora. There's something so indescribably sweet and satisfying to a man in knowing that he has forgiven his wife, forgiven her freely and with all his heart. It seems as if it has made her doubly his own. He has brought her into the world anew, so to speak. And she has, in a way, become both his wife and his child. And from now on, that's what you will be to me. A scared, helpless darling. Now, you don't have to worry about anything. Just open your heart to me, and, well, I will be both your will and your conscience. Well, what's this? Not gone to bed. Have you changed your dress?
Yes, Torvald, I've changed.
But why now, so late?
I'll not sleep tonight.
But,
It's
my
not
dearest
so
Nora.
late. Sit down here, Torvald. You and I have much to say to one another.
Well, what does this mean, this cold, set face?
Sit down. It will take some time. I have much to say to you.
You alarm me, Nora. I don't understand.
And that's just it. You do not understand me. And I have never understood you until tonight. But don't interrupt me. Just listen to what I have to say. We must settle accounts, Torvald.
Well, what do you mean by that?
Does anything strike you as we sit here like this?
What?
We have been married now 8 years. Does it not occur to you that this is the first time that we two, you and I, husband and wife, have had a serious conversation?
Well, what do you mean by serious?
In 8 whole years. No, ever since we first met, we've never exchanged one serious word on any serious subject.
Well, was I meant to trouble you with worries you cannot help me to bear?
I'm not talking of worries. I'm saying you and I have never sat ourselves seriously to get to the bottom of any good one.
Dear Nora, would it have been any good to you?
That was just it. You don't understand it. I've been greatly wronged, Torvald, first by Papa, then by you.
What? By us? No, we two have loved you more than anyone else in the world.
You have never loved me. You have only thought it pleasant to be in love with me.
Little thing to say.
It's true, Torvald. When I was at home with Papa, he used to tell me what he thought about everything, and so I held the same opinions. I had my own and kept them quiet because he wouldn't have liked it. He called me his doll child, and he used to play with me like I played with my dolls. When I came to live in your house.
What kind of expression is that to describe our marriage?
I mean that I was passed from Papa's hands into yours. You arranged everything according to your tastes, and so I got the same taste as you. I pretended I did, I don't know which. Perhaps both. First one, then the other. When I look back on it, it's as if I've been living here like a beggar from hand to mouth. I've lived by performing tricks for you, Torvald. That's how you wanted it. You and Papa have committed a great sin against me. It's your fault my life has come to nothing.
How reasonable and ungrateful you are. Haven't you been happy here?
No, never. I thought I was, but I haven't ever been happy.
Not happy.
No, only married. You've always been so kind to me, Torvald. Our home has never been anything but a playroom. I've been your doll wife, just as I was Papa's doll child. The children in turn have been my dolls. I always thought it great fun when you played with me, just as they do when I play with them. That's what our marriage has been, Torvald.
Well, there is some truth in what you say, though it is exaggerated and strained. But from now on, things will be different. Playtime is over. Now it's time for education.
Whose education? Mine or the children's?
Both yours and the children, my darling.
Torvald, you are not the man to teach me to be a fit wife for you.
How can you say
And
that?
how am I fit to educate the children?
Nora.
Didn't you say you dared not trust me with them?
In a moment of anger, why dwell on that?
Because you're perfectly right. I'm not equipped for it. There's something I must do first. I must educate myself. You are not the man to help me with that. I must do that for myself. That is why I'm leaving.
What did you say?
I must stand on my own feet if I'm ever to understand myself and my surroundings.
Nora.
So I cannot stay here any longer.
Nora.
I'm leaving now at once. I'm sure Christy will take me in for the night.
You are out of your mind. I won't allow it. I forbid you.
There's no use forbidding me anything now. I will take with me what belongs to me. I won't take anything from you. Not now or ever.
What kind of madness is this?
Tomorrow I will go home to my old home. It'll be easiest to find some opening there.
But you are blind, Nora. You have no experience of the world.
I must try to get some, Torvald.
But to desert your home, your husband and your children, and you don't consider what people will say.
I cannot consider that. I only know that I must do it.
This is monstrous. You would neglect your most sacred duties.
What do you consider my most sacred duties?
Must I tell you that? Your duties to your husband and your children.
I have other duties just as sacred.
That you have not. Or what could those be?
My duties toward myself.
Before all else, you are a wife and a mother.
I don't believe that anymore. I believe that before all else I'm a human being, just as you are. Or that I should try to become one. I know most people agree with you, Torvald, and that they say so in books, but I'm no longer content with what most people say or with what is written in books. I must think things out for myself and try to understand them.
Can you not understand your place in your own home? Don't you have an infallible guide in questions like that? Or don't you have religion?
Torvald, I don't really know what religion is.
Well, what are you saying?
I know what Pastor Henson told me when I was confirmed. He explained that religion meant this and that. When I'm away from all this and am alone, I will look into that. I will see whether what he taught me is right, or whether it is right for me.
This is unheard of. And in a girl your age. But if religion cannot lead you right, then let me appeal to your conscience. I suppose you have some moral feeling, or answer me, have you none?
I assure you, Torvald, that's not an easy question to answer. I really don't know. I'm all at sea about these things. I only know you and I look at it quite differently. I'm learning too, the law is different from what I thought. I cannot believe it can be right. A woman doesn't have the right to spare her dying father or to save her husband's life. I can't believe that.
You talk like a child. You don't understand how society works.
No, I don't. I intend to learn. I must try to decide which is right, society or me.
You are ill, Nora. You're delirious. I almost think you're out of your mind.
I never felt so clear and certain as tonight.
You feel clear and certain enough to forsake your husband and your children.
Yes, I do.
Then there can only be one possible explanation.
What is that?
That you no longer love me.
No. That is just it.
How can you say that?
It hurts me to say it. Torvald, you've always been so kind to me, but I can't help it. I do not love you anymore.
And are you clear and certain on this point too?
Absolutely clear and certain. That's why I cannot stay here any longer.
And can you tell me what I have done to forfeit your love?
Yes, I can. It was tonight when the miracle did not happen. I realized you were not the man I thought you were.
Explain yourself more clearly. I don't understand you.
I've waited so patiently for 8 years because, of course, I knew very well miracles don't happen every day. And this dreadful thing happened to me, and I knew the miracle would happen at last. When Krogstad's letter was lying out there, it never occurred to me you would submit to his conditions. I was certain that you would say, publish it to the world, and that then...
Yes. What then? When I had exposed my wife's name to shame and disgrace.
That then you would come forward and take everything upon yourself and say, I am the guilty one.
Nora?
You mean I would never have accepted such a sacrifice for you? No. Of course not. But what would my word have been worth against yours? That was the miracle that I hoped for and feared. It was to prevent that I wanted to end my life.
Nora, I would gladly work night and day, bear sorrow and hardship for your sake, but no man would sacrifice his honor for the one he loves.
Millions of women have done so.
You think and talk like a heedless child.
Maybe. But you neither think nor talk like the man I could share my life with. When your terror was over, not for what threatened me, but for yourself, when the whole thing was past, then as far as you were concerned, it was exactly as if nothing had happened. I was your skylark, as before, your doll, who you would take twice as much care of in the future because she was so weak and fragile. Torvald, in that moment it occurred to me I've been living here these 8 years with a stranger and had borne him 3 children. I can't bear to think of it. I could tear myself to pieces.
see it. I see an abyss is opened between us, but nor can we ever fill it up.
As I am now, I am no wife for you.
Well, I have the strength to become a different man.
Perhaps. If your doll is taken away.
But apart from you, Nora, no, I can't conceive of it.
All the more reason for it to happen.
Wait. Don't go. Wait until tomorrow.
I cannot spend the night in a strange man's house.
But couldn't we live together as brother and sister?
You know very well that wouldn't last long. Right, Torvald? I will not see the children. I know they are in better hands than mine. As I am now, I can be nothing to them.
But someday, Nora. Someday.
How can I tell? I have no idea what will become of me.
You're my wife. Whatever becomes of you, as you are and as you will be.
Listen to me, Torvald. I've heard that when a wife deserts her husband's house, as I'm doing, I've heard that according to the law, he is legally free from all obligations to her. In any case, I set you free. If any obligations to me, you are not to feel yourself bound to me in any way, any more than I would feel bound to you. There must be perfect freedom on both sides. There. I'll give you back your ring. Give me mine.
That too?
That too. Good. Now it's over. I've put the keys there. The maids know where everything is better than I do. Tomorrow, after I left town, Christine will come and pack the things I brought with me from home and send after me.
All over. All over. Lord, will you never think of me again?
I will often think of you and the children in this house.
May I write to you?
No,
Well, let me send you.
nothing.
If you should have any
Nothing. I
help.
cannot accept help from strangers.
Lord, can I ever be anything more than a stranger to you?
Torvald. For that, the miracle of miracles would have to happen.
What is that?
You and I would have to change so much that... Torvald, I no longer believe in miracles.
But I will believe. Tell me. We would have to change so much that
our life together could become a marriage. Goodbye.
Lord. Empty. Oh, she's gone.